Hi, so this is Nice Lady, and I'm doing my test run right now. And I'm gonna actually go in with the music here. Yeah, and that's some applause. This is the acoustic lead in, and we're gonna start our series off, brand new series called Prophecy Radio. And I was inspired by Prophecy Radio. And for this test, I'm just going to go ahead and go over the first part of it. So I was inspired by YouTube and their new AI layout. And I don't necessarily follow the AI step by step. And if I'm using an AI assistant, I want to be transparent about that. So I'm doing that, and I'm just having fun with it. And the topic is it's basically it helped me think of hypothetical callers for this hypothetical prophecy radio talk show. Caller Ancient Texts, Modern Dilemmas, and Bible Ethics. So this is the outline that it has, and it's coming up. And we'll start with the ethical time capsule bridging millennia. And the hook would be, what if the answers to our toughest 21st century dilemmas are hidden in texts thousands of years old? Starting stat or modern dilemma. Briefly introduce the concept. Bible ethics aren't dusty relics, they are surprisingly robust frameworks. Ease the journey, we will explore specific modern problems and see how ancient wisdom cuts through the noise. Beyond thou shalt not, the death of ancient wisdom. I never believed it was that in the first place. Well, we'll move on. Deconstruct common misconceptions about Bible ethics. It's not just a list of prohibitions, and I don't think it was really meant to be a list of prohibitions in the first place because, well, first of all, the only thing that was really written that was received was the Ten Commandments, and that was written down, and the Torah itself. But as far as the 613 mitzvot goes, that was more like received, and that as a group received that, and that wasn't written down until about 300 years after Jesus passed away in 2000. It's like it was decided because the Roman Catholic Church was starting up that they would have to write down all the traditions in the 613 mitzvot, and that is in the Mishnah. The Mishnah has that all written down. And Jesus of Nazareth was actually teaching the Jewish law that he knew from his culture and from his training. So most of the words in red are him explaining Jewish law. So, like, a lot of what we know to be Jewish law that we get from like Leviticus and everything, um, that's not necessarily for everyone. That is just for those who are following the covenant of Moses. If you are not officially Jewish, that is actually does not apply to you. But a lot of Christians follow that anyway. But all the same, it should never be made all about that. Um, a Reformed Jews, I use it as a guide. They spiritually follow the law, but they're not actually living in a Jewish community. If when we are Jewish, we want to because we feel spiritually compelled to honor the law, at least in spirit, to understand the background of the law, and to fully take in, to live the law best we can. But uh, these are more community rules. They're for a community, and when it is a community rule, that's not a rule anymore. It doesn't feel like a rule. That's your culture. Those are more cultural laws. Those are just the way of life. That's the way you do things. And if you didn't do this things in this way, it would feel really, really kind of strange. So it only really feels like rules if you are not in that culture, if you are separated from that culture. But if you are no longer in that culture, it's not it's not your way to carry. You don't have to necessarily abide by what would be considered to be Jewish law if you are not in a Jewish community um, that is abiding by that law, like an actual, insular type community, and everybody in this community is following the law. What you follow are the Ten Commandments. So, because you're not living in a Jewish community, and that's about what offends Hashem. That's what offends the universe as a whole, and not even that really can be taken literally either. But if you feel it in your soul that you have offended the universe, um, it's usually one of the Ten Commandments. It is. And then that's kind of like how you learn what they really mean and what they're referring to is because you feel that burning. You actually do feel that burning in your heart and your soul. And you know that you have offended the world. You have done something really bad. And it's just very hard to really take in that type of thing because when we read words, we read them literally. But then we once we feel it and we know that we have made some type of infraction and we know that, then we read back and we look at the Ten Commandments, we realize that, oh wow, it was actually covered under this. I just didn't realize it wasn't explained to me very well, and even if it was explained to me very well, I didn't understand it. I only understand it now. So, and that's not a hard list to follow. So um, it's not really it's not those are not 613 laws that you have to abide by in order to not offend Hashem. Like feeling to be a good Jew does not offend Hashem, but if you're living in a community, um, it's like the city on the hill concept. You're setting the example of a good life. Like they prayed for some standards. The Jewish people prayed for some standards, and so Hashem sent them these standards. And now that's what Leviticus is referring to, and it's what the 613 mitzvot is referring to. Is this better way of life, this better standard? And when you live in community, you want to have some standards to follow, but it's fully ingrained into the culture itself. You do not feel like these are rules because this is your culture. But if you're not in that culture, it's actually gonna feel like uh, um it's just gonna feel like a bunch of things that you can't do and participate in. But you shouldn't feel that way. You should just really be following your conscience and to follow those 10 things that actually do offend the universe. So I think that's enough for a sound test. So I'm going to go ahead and stop this now and just to see how I did. Oh, I should probably do an outro music thing if I'm doing that, if that's something that I'm actually doing. I'll do a little thank you for me. It is amazing. Fade out. Thank you very much for tuning into my screen test. I appreciate having you on today um, for my test for Inclusive Prophecy Radio. This is Nice Lady, and you have a great day.